Good morning. Welcome back to Bookeemonsters. My name is PK. It is Tuesday, October the 15th, and we are here to look at the new releases that have been published this week, and we look at them genre by genre. On Tuesdays, we look at the darker side of crime fiction. We look at mysteries and thrillers. On Mondays, we look at cozy mysteries. Wednesdays, we look at romance. Thursdays, we look at fantasy and science fiction. Friday is Freeform Friday. We usually look at the rest of the cozy mysteries because there's always a lot of those, or just whatever I want to look at. Because it's Freeform Friday update. Hope you had a good Monday. And I was gonna say, Kim, today's the day. I'm so happy for you. It'll be so good for you. The healing will just go boom. I love it. Quick announcements. I do have sprints tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. They go for 2.5 hours. I do them 3 times a week, every Tuesday and Thursday evenings, and the Saturday afternoons. That one's for 5 hours. So we do a total of 10 hours of sprinting so that you can get through your TBR or work on a project or things like that. It's time carved out for you. All right, let's jump into mysteries and thrillers. First up, Long Time Gone by Hannah Martian. Oh, that'd be a fun last name. I'm a Martian. In the small town of Wonderland, Wyoming, the truth is whatever the Coldwater family says it is. When their prodigal daughter, Jessica, was murdered 40 years ago, their truth was that Holly Prine killed her, regardless of Holly's innocence. But the Coldwaters aren't the only reason private investigator Quinn Cuthridge hasn't set foot in the town in nearly a decade. After her aunt sent her away when she was a teen, Quinn swore she'd never return. When she gets an unexpected call from her aunt's ranch hand, Hunter, Quinn learns that her aunt has gone missing. Reluctantly, she returns to Wyoming to investigate and soon realizes that her aunt was getting dangerously close to a long buried Wonderland secret, including who really murdered Jessica Coldwater. As Hunter and Quinn dig into what lies in the Wyoming backcountry, attraction flares between the two women. Oh, complicating their investigation and Quinn's steadfast refusal to have any ties to Wonderland. With someone threatening Quinn and her own dark past echoing in the present, Quinn must struggle against her hometown and herself to find the truth in this mystery. Wyoming set. Wyoming is a hop, skip, and a jump from where I live. Buried Lies by Stephen Tingle. There's another fun last name. I'm a Tingle. Former police officer turned private detective Davis Reed is taking refuge in the mountains of Crusoe, North Carolina, after a run-in with a biker gang dealt him an unfavorable hand. That was very strange. When respected real estate agent Prentice Wells is killed by an errant golf ball, Davis has no reason to suspect it wasn't an accident, but then a wealthy couple hires him to prove the death was murder and catch the killer. In desperate need of cash, Davis takes the job. That would need to be a really specific skill set. Are you a murderer? Can you kill with a golf ball? While Davis investigates who had the motive to kill Prentice, Elizabeth Harper, an accountant who stirs butterflies in Davis's stomach, uncovers a tangled mess of shady real estate deals linked to Prentice's firm. As the case garners media attention, Davis must carefully navigate a minefield of secrets and lies. With the help of his friend Dale Johnson, a local deputy whose mood changes with the wind, and Dale's cousin Floppy, a mad genius motor-mouth mechanic, Davis sets out to uncover a mystery that runs much deeper than he thinks. Ian Rankin has a new one, and I did check, it is new. Midnight and Blue, it's a new Inspector Rebus, number 25. Good for him. Good morning, Mary. Happy Tuesday. And yes, she is. Convict is brutally murdered in his locked cell deep in the heart of Scotland's most infamous prison. Sleeping in a cell across the floor lies John Rebus, the equally notorious detective. Stripped of his badge and estranged from his police family, he is now fighting for his own life, protected by an old nemesis, but always one wrong move away from the shank. As new allies and old enemies circle and the days and nights bleed into each other, even this legendary figure struggles to keep his head. They say old habits die hard, though. The death stirs Rebus's deductive and manipulative impulses, setting off a domino chain of scheming criminals, corrupt prison guards, and perhaps only one or two good souls who may see it all through. But how do you find a killer in a place full of them? Meeny, meeny, miny, mo. Andrew Clavin has a new one. Fourth in the Cameron Winter Mysteries. This is called A Woman Underground. Ooh, ex-spy and English professor. I've not read this. Cameron Winter is troubled in heart and mind. He's plagued by memories of his time as a government operative investigating a notorious Turkish sex trafficker. The fact that the mission was left unfinished still haunts him and threatens to tear him apart. In the midst of his painful soul searching, Winter crosses paths with an ex-flame, his first love, and the chance encounter ignites a passion he thought was long lost. There's no chance encounters. But just as soon as she wanders back into Winter's life, the woman vanishes, leaving Winter scrambling to track her down. His pursuit takes him deep into a world rent by partisan violence where extremists clash and Winter sides with no one. As he faces his most dangerous case yet, victory might simply mean getting out alive. Interesting. End of row one. As I mentioned, we're on the darker side of mysteries. This one has a fun cover. I usually like Ian Rankin. Yeah, I read his earlier books in the series. I have not kept up on it per usual. That sounds really like it's taken a turn. Yes, just have to have an appointment with my PCP set up. Awesome! We're home for my weekend in Philly. We found, oh, good. The granddaughter looked gorgeous in each one she tried. Of course she did, but the perfect one was found. Oh, did she have the moment? Oh, what a great thing for you to share with her. That's so cool. You Better Watch Out by James S. Murray and Darren Wearmouth. 48 hours until Christmas, Jessica Kane wakes up with blurred vision, ears ringing, and in excruciating pain, a gash in her head and blood running down her face. The last thing she remembers is going for a run and something or someone hit her in the head. It doesn't take her long to realize she is trapped in an unknown deserted town with 5 other strangers who share similar stories of being attacked and stranded there. Unsure why and how they got there, she knows one thing for certain: she has to find a way out. That becomes nearly impossible when someone is meticulously orchestrating their deaths, one by one, and the only thing Jessica can do is watch the life leave their eyes. The fenced-in town is the killer's very own playground, and there's nowhere left to hide. She better watch out because she could be next. Oh my. That ain't no cozy Christmas book. The Treasure Hunters Club by Tom Ryan. Welcome to Maple Bay, Nova Scotia. For nearly a century, people have ventured to the idyllic seaside town of Maple Bay in search of a legendary lost pirate's treasure. I was just thinking, oh, this must be like, oh, Maple Bay. Okay, so like Oak Island. But locals know there's more than just gold buried in the sand. As the paths of 3 strangers converge in Maple Bay, the truth is about to be blown wide open, but not before the bodies start to pile up. Peter Barnett is rapidly approaching 40 with little to show for it when a mysterious letter invites him to Maple Bay and the mansion his estranged family has called home for generations. 17-year-old Dandy Felton is isolated and adrift, following the death of her beloved grandfather until his final request and a tantalizing clue sets her on a mission to solve the mystery he spent his entire life chasing. Cass Jones has given up on her dream of being a successful author when an unexpected opportunity lands in her lap. A house sitting gig in remote Maple Bay, where she stumbles on the perfect subject matter for her breakout book, and the handsome sailor who might be just the person to help her research it. Peter, Dandy, and Cass have never met, but they're on a collision course with each other and the mystery that has defined Maple Bay for 2 centuries, and none of them are prepared for the shocking truths that may or may not still be buried there. Michael Connolly has a new one. I did check. He said, "How fun, Mary." Indeed. Such good memories. 6 in the Ballard and Bosch series. The 2 series have combined into this new series of books, of which there are 6. Renee Ballard and the LAPD's Open Unsolved Unit get a hotshot DNA connection between a recently arrested man and a serial rapist and murderer who went quiet 20 years ago. The arrested man is only 24, so the genetic link must be familial. His father was the pillowcase rapist responsible for a 5-year reign of terror in the City of Angels. But when Ballard and her team move in on their suspect, they encounter a baffling web of secrets and legal hurdles. Meanwhile, Ballard's badge, gun, and ID are stolen, a theft she can't report without giving her enemies in the department ammunition to end her career as a detective. She works the burglary alone, but her mission draws her into unexpected danger. With no choice but to go outside the department for help, she knocks on the door of Harry Bosch. At the same time, Ballard takes on a new volunteer to the cold case unit, Bosch's daughter, Maddie, now a patrol officer. But Maddie has an ulterior motive for getting access to the city's library of lost souls, a case that may be the most iconic in the city's history. I have liked both series. I have, again, fallen away in the last few years. The thing that irritated me, and probably why I fell away, particularly from the Bosch series, is that people call Harry to his face so many times. If it were a drinking game, it would not be long before you were schnockered. It just got to be irritating, especially if you listen to the audiobooks. Hooray, like him too. Yes, it's a good week so far. The Betrayal of Thomas True. Now, this one had some really good blurbs, including by Stephen Fry, if you know who that is. This is by A.J. West. It's and it's historical, so I'm intrigued. What? Hardcovers. Did they change that? That was not what it was. It's available now in Kindle. Do we count it? We'll have to remember in January not to count it. The only sin is betrayal. It is the year 1715, and Thomas True has arrived on Old London Bridge with a dangerous secret. One night, lost amongst the squalor of London's hidden back streets, he finds himself drawn into the outrageous underworld of the Molly houses. Meanwhile, carpenter Gabriel Griffin struggles to hide his double life as Lottie, the Molly's stoic guard. When a young man is found murdered, he realizes there is a rat amongst them, betraying their secrets to a pair of murderous justices. Can Gabriel unmask the traitor before they hang? Can he save hapless Thomas from peril and their own forbidden love? Set amidst the buried streets of Georgian London, this book is a brutal and devastating thriller where love must overcome evil, and the only true sin is betrayal. End of row 2. So everybody remember, in January, we already did that one. Mandatory Reporting, a Dublin Mystery by Jenny Wilson. I'm going to say O'Reilly. This is a debut. Jonah is in way over his head. His study abroad year in Dublin isn't going as planned. Instead of the engineering program he requested, the only option available to him is a course in psychology. Rather than the predictable world of numbers, he is forced into the complicated and unpredictable world of human emotions and actions, exactly where he doesn't want to be. In therapy with an enigmatic drinking game doctor, fumbling to acclimate to a new country and plunge into the quicksand of family mental health alongside a beautiful but troubled clinic supervisor, Jonah begins to unravel. How can he help others navigate the murky depths of family trauma when he's still fighting to survive his own? And then someone dies. Jonah is caught in the complex and unfamiliar web of relationships at the core of the Irish experience. He has the familiar feeling of being watched carefully, the familiar feeling that he is to blame. Did he reveal too much to his therapist? Has his work at the clinic enraged a violent father? As the Irish police begin to investigate, is Jonah now the prime suspect? It has some elements I like. Really depends on the writing, I guess. If they can pull it off. Behind You by Mac Omer. I think it was Riley. 17-year-old Theodora Briggs left home in the dead of night after a brutal crime shattered her life. 13 years later, she's made a name for herself as Gemma, a beautician, wife, and mother, but the trauma still lingers. Then one day, it's more than just a phantom pain. Gemma is suddenly accosted by stranger after stranger, all of whom seem to know the truth about her. They confront her with her real name and ominous allusions to the tragedy that drove her out of town. When her family begins to have their own strange episodes, Gemma is rattled. There's no one left to trust but herself, except Gemma can't even remember what happened that night. Accusations and danger lurk around every corner, and Gemma's not sure where to turn. But if she can't put together the pieces of her past, the new life she's built might disappear just as quickly and violently as her old one. This ends now, second in the Detective Sheridan Haller series. In Liverpool, a woman inexplicably leaps to her death. The following morning, two bodies are found on nearby Crosby Beach, a woman tied to a statue and a man buried up to his neck and left to drown. Ugh. When a 9-month-old murder case is reopened, DI Sheridan Haller is shocked to uncover family connections between the victim, Daniel Parks, and the three unexplained deaths. With Daniel's body still missing and the number one suspect cleared of the crime, Haller's cold case suddenly becomes a major murder investigation. Someone seems hell-bent on destroying the Parks family, but why? And as the links between the victims become increasingly sinister, can D.I. Haller find who's pulling the strings before the killer strikes again? The Bitter End by Alex Dunn. The trip of a lifetime might be the death of them all. The students of LA's elite Warner Prep can't wait for their senior excursion, 5 days of Instagrammable adventure in one of the world's most exclusive locations. This is not your average field trip, which is why 8 students can't believe their bad luck when they end up on a digital detox in an isolated Colorado ski chalet. Their epic trip is panning out to be an epic bore until their classmates start dropping in a series of disturbing deaths. The message is clear: this trip is no accident. And when a blizzard strikes, secrets are revealed, betrayals are exposed, and survival is at stake in a race to the bitter end. And our last one, The Specimen by Jama Dixon. Interesting cover. 1826. Isabel Tate finds herself by chance staring at a tiny human heart floating in a jar. It should be of little consequence. Dr. Burnett is renowned for his collection of oddities and medical specimens, and this, a juvenile heart with a damaged mitral valve, is not the strangest thing on display, except that the condition is rare and that Isabel's young son, who has been missing for months, suffered from the ailment. A phantom pulse beats in Isabel's ears. She knows something here isn't right. Missing persons cases are all too common in Edinburgh, where people simply vanish like mist. But Burnett is obsessed with his specimens. How far would he go to acquire a new one? Determined to investigate, Isabel joins his staff as the keeper of his collection. What she'll unearth, though, is far worse than any of her nightmares. Based on true crimes, this book is a mesmerizing story about one woman's search for truth and vengeance in the darkest of places, where the deadliest secrets lie hidden in plain sight on a freshly dusted shelf. That does sound rather dark. And that's it. That's all we got. Tomorrow we'll be looking at romance. Again, I do have sprints tonight at 8 o'clock. With the minute left, I was going to show you what I was reading. I found a new historical mystery series. This is called The Persephone Code by Julia Golding, and it's described as Bridgerton meets the Da Vinci Code. I would argue with that, but they've got to find their little tags. But it is getting into that formula of slow burn couple, strong female. The guy is a doctor, but he's not being a doctor anymore because he got addicted to opium. So he's got a dark past. She's an actress, so that was interesting. I'm also reading a sci-fi. I've been aware of this series. I just never read it. The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I'm enjoying it. But I'm still looking for my scavenger hunt book of fall vibe. I have not been successful. I have lots and lots of options. All right. I also like the cover of the specimen, but I think it might be too dark for me. See you tonight from my bed. Indeed. Oh, I hope it goes so smoothly. I look forward to hearing all the details tonight. Mary says, hope the romance ones are better than last week's. Indeed. That was all Christmas rom-coms last week. We need some serious love, which would not exactly. Exactly. All righty. So, dot is dot. Hope you guys have a good Tuesday and hope to see you either tomorrow or tonight or both. And please take care of yourselves. You're in my heart. And as the banner says here, don't be a bookworm, be a bookie monster. Nom nom. Have a good day and God bless.